It's a movie review. Asphalt City was released in 2023. Let's have a quick look at the... Directed by Jean-Stéphane Savert, who previously directed a Thai movie set in a prison, which I haven't seen, which I might well check out. There's a reference in a review to it that I saw. It's 2018, A Prayer Before Dying, and it's as I say, set in a Thai prison. An unusual narrative. Anyway, this movie, directed by Jean-Stéphane Savert, screenplay by Ben McBrown and Ryan King, based on a novel by Shannon Burke. The cast, in the lead role is Sean Penn, who plays Gene Rutkowski, and he's a paramedic on the streets of New York, I think. Yeah, and he's the veteran, and Ty Sheridan is the rookie. Ollie Cross is his character. A few other characters worth noting. Michael Pitt, who plays LaFontaine, and Chief of Police, Chief Burroughs, is played by none other than Mike Tyson. I'll be interested to see that. Okay, so but basically it's about the lives of these two paramedics who chase around the city, dealing with extreme paramedic situations. These people are often rather psychotic, deranged, in unspeakable squalor, and it seems to be a constant grind trying to help these people out. And of course the focus of the movie is also the relationship between the veteran, played by Penn, and the rookie, played by Sheridan. Let's get into it. The opening scenes, we meet the two protagonists as they are responding to a call, potential gunshot incident. As they arrive, it's pretty chaotic. There are lots of people fluffing around. There apparently seems to have been 4 victims. The first one they come across is the guy who's been shot in the foot, and the rookie is all attentive, and they establish from the victim that he's just been shot in the foot. Rutt, played by Penn, has already established as he walked through that there are 3 other more serious victims, and immediately basically said that this is a yellow tag and that the others are more serious and are red tag. So they basically leave the guy, tell him to put pressure on the wound and relocate. This has quite an impact on the rookie, who can't understand why he's supposed to be taking care of people, but he's now making decisions about priorities. Welcome to New York City at night. Violent crime, chaos. In fact, the intro, you get some perspective that you think you're moving into the future, when in fact the reality is it's happening here and now. The director captures the moment quite well. He switches the camera to the rookie Sheridan, who's looking sort of almost aghast at what's going on, probably his first experience, and contrasting with Penn, who's sort of very matter of fact. You know, he knows what to do, what he can't do, what he can do. Is completely devoid of sort of any emotional reaction to what he's seeing, and just follows a sort of a rotor-like response. He's probably responded to hundreds of these type of serious gunshot wounds, and he's just going about a sort of plan that he's probably done many times. But the director contrasts the two responses very well, I think. What I was thinking whilst I'm watching this movie, in the context of the current chaos politically in the United States and the constant rhetoric from various politicians about the United States being the greatest country in the world, and then this is a stark reminder, you know, to these daily horrors, these reflections on a country that still values the right to bear arms as sacrosanct, and these are the shoddy, gritty realities of that sort of principle and that desire that they hold so close to their chests as a paradigm of what's good about them, you know. And I just can't understand this, you know, living in a country that I am, Thailand, where, you know, you can count the number of murders, number of serious violent crime incidents, probably for the whole country, in single figures per day. I'm talking about across the whole fucking country. And in America, you've got double figures in each urban area, in every city, up and down the length and breadth of America. And then the greatest country in the world. As the two of them frantically try and keep this black guy alive, he slowly slides away from them, and the visuals are really in your face, you know, as you see this guy go into cardiac arrest, and all efforts are going to be in vain. So, welcome to Asphalt City, New York City, Big Apple. The night shift is over. The rookie returns to his rather basic accommodation, almost a mixture of tiredness and numbness at what's happened, his experience with death graphically in his face. A new shift, out they go, and they're called to deal with some Latino kid leg injury, and side by side they have to witness this aggressive shouting match between the assumes the boy's mother and this man who may well be her husband or whatever, or just a neighbour, and the neighbour's got this ferocious pit bull, and Ruck tells the rookie that can he try and sort out the dog with its owner, who are so aggressive. And we then have this very, very poignant little scene where the rookie tries to sort of calm the dog down and shows a certain amount of tenderness to this dog, who sort of becomes wimpish, probably a reflection on the dog never having experienced this type of gentleness, being surrounded by aggression and verbal abuse and chaos. It's, I think, very, very succinct. However, the aggression wins over as a really sort of almost psychotic looking male, bald-headed with tattoos everywhere, walks out to where the rookie's trying to get this dog calmed down, and this guy pulls a gun out and then eventually shoots the dog. It's really quite... Once again, the rookie stands in bewilderment at what he's witnessing. Life being taken away, also with the animals as well. Another case, this is a bit of a contrast. The rookie has to suffer the verbal abuse from a middle-aged woman who's clearly got significant psychiatric problems, and starts relating her victim, relates incidents briefly of her being a victim of sexual abuse by her father, and clearly has issues, and it personally abuses the rookie as he tries to take down basic details like name, date of birth, as she's transported to the hospital. It's another form of chaos, really. Clearly ill-equipped to deal with the issues of severe mental health problems. This series of chaotic situations with individuals who clearly have either extreme psychological problems or are physically injured, for some unknown reason, conjured up images of the boat trip taken in Apocalypse Now, where they come across situations that are extremely dangerous, and also come across people who are quite insane. So the river going into Cambodia has certain similarities to the roads in inner city New York with regard to how humans go about their day-to-day work. Very strange. It's called an Arab, elderly Arab, who's struggling to breathe, who's asthmatic, and the scene illustrates the lack of confidence that the rookie has in carrying out procedures that he would have learnt in a classroom. And Rut, of course, has done it all before, rescues him when they try to assist this elderly man in breathing. Without that, he would go into cardiac. But it illustrates again another aspect to the film, which I think is challenging, but ticks many boxes. You know, the pressure on these services to carry out their job, and the fact that inexperienced, recently recruited individuals have to step in to situations of life and death, and are vulnerable. You know, it may throw up sort of issues like how well they're paid, how they're attracting people to do this work, you know, which I suppose had a sort of certain common denominator with what happened with the COVID epidemic and how services were stretched to the limit. Interesting. Cross's day only gets worse when a colleague carries out a prank on him, aware of Cross's sensitivity to dogs being hurt, and as mentioned earlier, and he opens up his locker and there's a dead dog inside, and this ends up in a squabble, and the chief, Tyson, has to intervene to calm things. Tyson's been in 2 scenes so far. He's obviously a rookie, an acting rookie. Across his life isn't just chaotic in his work. He then moves into some free time, and we see him at a sort of rave type disco, pongoing with lights flashing everywhere, and it's also like a sort of a crazy sort of collection of individuals who are spaced out. You know all about those, and he's wandering around looking aimless. There's a touching little scene while they're sitting in the cab between Cross and Rutt, when the subject of death and witnessing the moment of death, and Cross shares the fact that he was around when his mother passed. It sort of puts it into some sort of perspective, I guess. Another social problem hits them in the face. They get called to a laundromat. A woman's collapsed on the floor. It appears that she's homeless and she wanted to sleep in the laundromat. They give her a choice once they get her standing up. Either the hospital or she's got to find somewhere else to sleep. Wow. The story enables us to get a glimpse of their personal lives. Cross with his girlfriend, we see a rather erotic scene in a bathtub, following on from his disclosure that he found his dead mother in a bathtub. And then later we go to where Rutt's ex Nancy lives with their daughter, and upon arrival it becomes clear that he hasn't paid her money maintenance, which he resolves. So they are also outside work. They're not exactly sort of flushed for cash and enjoying a fulfilling life. Cross and Rutt continue to sort of help each other out after Ruts spent some time with his kid. Then suggests that Cross go and spend some time with his daughter to enable him to talk one-to-one with Nancy about their relationship. Yeah, it clicked. Sheridan. I previously saw him in a film in 2018 called Age Out, which was about, he was a foster kid and he was leaving his care facility, and it was traced how he tried to adapt to life as a young adult. It was certainly worth a watch, a film that not many people saw. Cross has a period of R&R with his young girlfriend who's also got a child. It's quite explicit sexually, but it soon shifts to the cab, and they've got a call, nursing home, arrive, and the guy there has got a multitude of comorbidities, Alzheimer's, problems with liquid in his lungs, and Cross naively suggests we should take him to hospital, and Rutt says yeah, and then he'll be brought right back here. Basically it's more like a hospice, although it is a nursing home. So we're looking at community care, of course, or the lack of it again. These two guys are on that front line seeing this social problem. This is a bit of a hard watch if you're pretty old. It's sort of it's a bit like looking in the mirror and knowing that your time's near. Next up, marital dispute and physical violence by the husband on the wife, who he's knocked down and she's hit her head, blood breathing from a room. He claims that she fell. Of course it's obvious that he beat her. This leads to physical confrontation between Rutt and the Latino. He knows that this guy's been beating his wife, and it obviously hits a sore point with him, and he loses it. Yeah. Welcome back, social services. When you're working in these so-called caring professions, or professions where you come into contact with the public and they are not in a good place, social work, paramedics, police, maybe in schools, it's often very difficult to draw the line between so-called being professional and being human. Being human meaning reacting to your personal views on what may have happened. For example, in my profession it was physical abuse, sexual abuse. A few years back I was one of Sean Penn's biggest fans. I stood head and shoulders alongside him, and of course I felt that his politics were in the right place,
and his performances were sublime. And then of course there was all this issue about Haiti and his so-called links with the Clintons, and he started to become seen as one of those malleable sort of characters who wasn't quite as honourable as we first thought. Now, on this movie, I still hold on to his ability as an actor. There's a brilliant little sequence in this following his loss of temper with this Latino about brutalising his wife, when he's walking I guess on the coast on a beach area with Cross, and talking about the horrors of working as a paramedic at the time of the World Trade Center calamity in September 2011, September the 11th, 2001. Is that right? 2001. And you start to sort of listen more carefully to him, and it's sort of total sort of passion and brutal honesty, and I reconnected with him. So don't miss that scene. Right, takes some leave, and he's replaced by La Fontaine, I think his name is, played by Michael Pitt, and we see him with Cross in the ambulance, and Pitt's character is rocking out to thrash metal music, and he's certainly wild and potentially lethal. The most harrowing part of the film so far, and it's been a series of strong scenes. Rut comes back from his leave, and him and Cross get called out to an apartment where a woman is apparently about to give birth. They have to break the door down, and then they find the woman unconscious, blood everywhere. She's given birth, and the cord is still attached, and Rut delegates care for the mother, who they later find out is HIV and has taken heroin to ease the pain, whilst he removes the baby to the bathroom, and it appears that later he describes it as a stillbirth. However, somehow procedure, which I'm not entirely clear, has been breached, and so they're subject to a sort of internal inquiry. The actual scenes where they're in the apartment with this woman, who, when she wakes, becomes quite hysterical and wants to see her baby, is quite disturbing. A tense investigation with regard to the death of the baby, and then another scenario, robbing the dead, or the near dead, as they're brought in with their last few breaths, is touched on briefly. I think this is a fucking tremendous film. It really is a tremendous film about the insight into this job that is vital but has no friends. With Michael Pitt back on board, we get to question have these medics got the right to play God, to decide who lives and dies based on their thoughts about any particular person who might be involved in pursuits that they find abhorrent? You know, drug dealers, for example, wife beaters, paedophiles, hitmen. You know, we can make that a longer list. You know, this is a terrific piece of cinema. Cross starts to get more and more angry, frustrated with Pitt's character. Pitt tends to keep pointing the finger. Do you think you're God? Do you have to be good all the time? Do you think you're saving these people? And he carries it too far, and then later, when Cross is with his girlfriend, he starts to get brutal sexually with her a little. He's so charged up. Rutt with Cross, I'm not so sure, but I believe that Rutt has been suspended, scapegoated, and then we get one of Sean Penn's great speeches, putting his soul on the table, saying that he did deliberately hold back on treatment because he saw a child hours old, or maybe an hour old, full of HIV blood, as he put it, with a life of misery ahead, and he made that decision to delay treatment. He played God. Great performance by Penn, back to his best here. And this guy who's playing Cross is a huge talent, Ty Sheridan. I remember in this Age Out, which I can't find. There's not a copy of it on the internet. It's really bugging me now. Well, there's going to be a copy of this in my collection. I thoroughly recommend this movie. It's tremendous. Cross and his new partner get a call. He soon works out that it's at Rutt's house, and then as he arrives, the scene acts out in a similar, if not identical, fashion to the scene in Mystic River when Penn arrives at the scene where they found a young woman who he suspects is his daughter, and he completely loses his cool and has to be held back by police. And here we have an identical reaction from Cross, knowing that the person that's stretched out with blood everywhere is Rutt. It's and the acting is, no, it's not as good as Correct Lens, but it's certainly pretty close. Remarkable. Ollie Cross, after his despair, outrage, he then seeks out the old girlfriend for some solace, someone to put your head on their shoulder and cry. But he's gone beyond. All she can say is, "You need help, man, but I can't give it to you." The sense of isolation sort of shutting you in. All four walls crowding you into your own insanity. As we see Cross wandering around, blank expression, trying and retain some sort of sanity, trying to work it all out, it just conjured up the images in my head of the fact that there's no care for the carers, and it touched my psyche, because when I was working for social services and day in day out was coming into contact with those members of society that were desperate for a sense of meaning. Usually they were disturbed, they had psychiatric problems, they did not function well, either through physical abuse, sexual abuse, or rejection or neglect, or and you're out there every day and you're constantly being expected to deliver care, and these people suck you dry, and then you're supposed to go home, put on the TV, sit down and eat your curry and feel okay. You know, and I just see so many bells, and that's why I'm here. That's why I got up and split the whole scene, to use a term that again suggests apocalypse now. Just a little point really about this last phase of this movie, where the aftermath of the death of Rutt, and Ty completely loses it. He's sort of in a daze initially, then he realises his last words may have tipped Runt over the edge, which is not really. Runt was getting there anywhere, and it brought to the front of my mind the fact that with regard to the caring professions, which I would lump in hospital services, social work, these ambulance guys, firefighters, to a lesser extent police, and doctors, of course, we're all in the business of helping people, caring for people, trying to make their lives better, and we often do it at the expense of our own. We're so committed professionals, that is, that we're so committed that we go beyond the call of duty, so to speak, and we leave it all out there, and then when we come back home we've got nothing to give, we've got nothing, no emotions left to be able to share with our own families, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, and we desperately need to be cared for, and the services referred to, they're hardly well equipped to offer the sort of counselling that's necessary, and so a lot of us fall by the wayside. You know, we turn to drink, drugs, sex, porn, gambling. Our own relationship become distorted, and we see this in the movie with Ty's anger he takes out on his girlfriend, and gets so wrapped up in the sexual power that he has that he frightens her and loses her, and I think this is one of the great things about the movie. But you know, this is why I quit. I had no more to give. My personal life suffered as a result of it. You know, before I went travelling, I was almost empty really of gas, having given myself to these services, this caring profession for the best part of 10 years. And then when I came back, after travelling and having that sort of freedom to sort of, experience things for myself and enjoy aspects of life, I then got back into it because of financial pressures, and I couldn't last, and I had to eventually run away from it, and that's why I ended up here in Thailand, because smoking, drinking, everything excessive would have driven me to an early grave. I'm convinced of it, and I think the movie draws this out eloquently, really, about how the carers become desperate for help, and there's a lack of help from the authorities, who in many ways are the government, but of course private practice as well. So I just wanted to say that, really, I have to acknowledge that I think this movie is really fucking brilliant, although it's tragic and it's a hard watch, and I really do think that Penn is back to his best. And Ty Sheridan, what a find.